provide written comments as well through the Georgia Child Support Commission portal. Before we begin the public comments, let me spend a few minutes discussing the purpose and scope of tonight's meeting. First, this is a listening session for the Economic Study Committee, not the Georgia Child Support Commission. The Georgia Child Support Commission has 3 standing subcommittees: the Economic Study Committee, the Technology and Support Calculator Committee, and the Statute Review Committee. In addition, there are occasionally study groups that focus on specific issues of interest. For example, there is currently a parenting time adjustment study group who is focused specifically on that issue. Tonight's session is a listening session with regard to the Economic Study Committee. As is laid out in 45 CFR, this committee addresses 3 issues. 1, to consider economic data on the cost of raising children, labor market data by occupation and skill level for the state and local labor markets. It considers the impact of policy guidelines and the amounts on custodial, non-custodial parents for those families with a family income below 200% of the federal poverty level, and also other important issues on the employment of non-custodial parents in compliance with child support orders. As is discussed in our economic subcommittee meeting, historically, we have also used the assistance of technical experts in this part of our duty. Second, we analyze case data gathered from sampling on the application of and deviations from child support guidelines, as well as the rates of default and imputed child support orders in orders determined using the low income adjustment. The analysis also includes a comparison of child support orders by case characteristics, including whether the order was entered by default based on imputed income or determined using the low income adjustment as required. The analysis of the data used in the statute's review will ensure that deviations from the guidelines are limited and the guideline amounts are appropriate based on criteria established by the state. And then third, we are to provide a meaningful opportunity for public input, including input from low-income custodial and non-custodial parents or their representatives. The state must also obtain the views and advice of the state child support agency funded under Title 4D of the Act. Second point, tonight is a listening session. It is not a question and answer session. So in simple terms, you talk, we listen. Third, listening sessions are not an invitation to relitigate your child support case. The Child Support Commission is not an alternative route around the rulings of the courts or the actions of the Division of Child Support Services. So with those 3 insights in mind, let's pass it over to our staff to walk through our ground rules for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Tutterow. Everybody, I'm Noelle Hugh Alvarez. I'm the staff attorney to the Child Support Commission. And so we can go through this in an orderly fashion. We'll just describe how we'll carry out the rest of the meeting. We've had 3 people register to speak tonight through the Child Support Commission website, as we asked the public to do. Those 3 folks will go first and will be given 8 minutes each to speak. After that, we'll hear from others who wish to speak, and they will be given 5 minutes each on a first come, first served basis, based on the order in which they type their names in the Zoom chat feature. So if you'd like to speak, you could go ahead and start doing that now if you're attending. For all people wishing to speak tonight, staff will call your name and give you access to speak. At that time, you'll see a dialog box pop up on your computer, giving you access to this meeting as a panelist. We ask you to please accept that designation. That will permit you to speak. At that time, you'll also need to turn on your audio and video. Once we can see you, staff will invite you to start speaking, and that's when your time will start to run. At the end of your time, you'll hear an alarm. Please conclude your comments at that time. Okay, so now I think those ground rules set, we'll start to hear from the public. Latana, did you want to start with our first speaker?
Yes, we can start a little early. For our first speaker, we have Mr. David DeLugas. And I will switch you over. It might take a moment. There he is. Okay, there he is. I got him. Okay, thank you, Mr. DeLugas.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, let's see here. If you are, sorry, but if you're still speaking when you hear the alarm sound, like Noelle said earlier, just please conclude your comments at that time. So once you start beginning to speak, the time will run and you will have 8 minutes. So you're permitted to speak.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity. I am a member of the public, of course, obviously, but I am also an attorney who has practiced law for 40 years, and I do a majority of my work in the arena of family law. I'm also the founder and executive director of Parents USA, which is a nonprofit 501c3 that's committed to the mission of protecting the constitutional rights of parents and their children. I serve as a guardian ad litem, a mediator, and I also serve as a parent coordinator. And the one point I want to get across to those members of the public listening and to the members of the commission and the panel is this. I would like there to be the thought that we need to revisit the custodial, non-custodial parent designation as the indicator of who receives and who pays child support. And I say that for the good of children who are labeled with dollar signs on them, whether intended or not. If the benefit of child support is to provide for the households of each parent so that a child is provided for to the best of the parent's ability, and there's a desire to share that responsibility, I understand the way in which it's structured now. But what I'd like to invite all of us to begin to consider is, could not the custodial parent, if that custodial parent is the person with a greater percentage of the parenting time over an annual basis, but also has greater financial resources, from my perspective, in those capacities that I listed, and by the way, let me add disclaimer-wise, I'm a divorced parent. As a higher earner, higher job market capacity person, as a custodial parent, and many fathers would disagree with me, but I would welcome the opportunity to pay child support to the mother for the reason that at the time of our marriage and throughout, and I say this generically, not just my case, the people are who they are. Their education, their job experience are such that when they're divorcing and that child is subject to the divorce, the parents should not be arguing about with whom the child spends time, with a focus on the financial outcome of that decision. And yet, anybody who practices in this arena, if they're being honest, will say there are many situations in which parents would say, oh, I welcome the opportunity to share parenting time, or to have that parent who lives in the better school district be the custodial parent, but I can't live without the child support. Or the one parent will fight for custody, not because they actually believe that the child should be spending a majority of time with that parent, but they wish to avoid paying child support. It becomes the primary motivator in far too many custody disputes, and the law doesn't allow the judge to take the position of, well, I'm going to grant, designate this parent as a primary custodial parent, which again is the term we're using to make people not have their feelings hurt. You're both custodial parents, but you're the primary and you're the secondary. And the primary receives child support and the secondary pays child support. In modification actions, I can tell you from experience, parents I've represented have said, based on what's happened in the last 5 or 6 years and where we now live, and each of us having remarried, and the activities that the children who are now in their teens versus 6 or 7 when we divorced, it makes sense that the other parent become the custodial parent. But what does that mean? And I have to be honest. I tell them, well, that means you're no longer going to get support, and you're likely going to have to pay support. And that becomes the decision maker for the parent who says, well, then I'm not going to agree to that, and I'll fight against it. So again, I don't need to spend all 8 minutes to tell you this. The message is, and I understand the limitations of this committee, but each of you and those in the public, I want to start having a focus. If we're truly focused on the welfare of children, then we need to eliminate children becoming pawns in a battle between parents who are fighting either to avoid paying support or to get support. Rather, we should look at the relative financial position of those parents. So if they're both low income, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult for either one to pay child support. If they're both high income, then perhaps we should have some threshold after which, regardless of the parenting time deviation, both parents have adequate time with the kids and they both have adequate income and financial resources. Neither one should pay support to the other, not necessarily because of a deviation, simply because if both parents are $100,000 a year earners or more, and they have one child, what purpose does the support from one parent to the other serve other than a wedge for the parents to have to battle over and for the children to know? Because unfortunately, parents who are going to battle over money are going to be very poor insulators of children learning about these adult issues. We in the profession need to recognize the harsh reality of this is the truth. And if we don't take steps through legislation, which is where it has to originate, but our recommendations or the panel and the commission's recommendations need to go back up the line and tell those in a position to make a difference that we need to revisit this. So that again, high earners, I don't know what the number is, but at some point, if the lower of the two earners, let's say one makes $500,000 a year and the other makes $100,000 a year and there's one child, what purpose does that support serve? They can still get alimony. They can still get a disparate equitable division of property. There are lots of ways at the divorce level that we can have the disparity in financial resources and income show up, but it shouldn't show up through a child who again becomes the pawn or the weapon through which parents battle one another. And I would like us all to be willing to revisit this and recognize that it has to start somewhere. And I'm trying to drum up more awareness of this problem. And again, anybody who practices knows this is a reality. We just don't know what we do about it. And I'm trying to plant that seed. I thank you for the time and the opportunity, and I welcome any member of the panel or any member of the commission to get in touch with me separately and have a Zoom call, coffee, or whatever's comfortable, and continue the dialogue, as well as invite in members of the executive department, the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker of the house, somebody to talk about this so we can address it. And I recognize federal law may have some impact and the money available and such. All right, I have 15 seconds, but I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
David, this is Roger Tutterow. Thank you for your comments. Let me ask going forward that we continue to remember the purpose of tonight's session is for the public to provide comments to the Economic Study Committee about those issues. And there are public listening times or public comment times at the end of Child Support Commission meetings. And that's, I think, probably the right place for things that are focused on statute to go.
All right, so with that, it's okay to move on to our second speaker.
Yes.
Our second speaker is Miss Nisha Perkins. And I see her on, so I'm going to switch you over. Okay, I did it. Let's see. Okay, there she is.
Hi, do I have to show my face? Because I didn't know I was going to have to.
Does she?
I think we can go without that, but we're all, our day is done, so we're happy to see your face if you'll share it with us.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, so I don't know exactly if this goes into the guidelines of the economic child support area, but I feel as though when it comes to going through the review process, through the child support agency, I feel as though it makes it very hard. I have been in the system for like 10 years, and for some reason, we still can't locate the individual, even though the money is coming out. I just feel as though that it's harder on the custodial parent to get the benefits that is needed for the child after a certain period of time. And I wish that process would be easier. Also, I feel as though like the staff or the protocol to get it transferred from one county to another county when you move is also a headache. And those are things that I just wanted to point out. And if we can make those things easier, I think that will also lighten the load of the DeKalb, Fulton County area to place it somewhere else. And that's all I had to say about it.
Great. Well, thank you, Nisha. I appreciate your comments. Again, at the Child Support Commission level, we frequently have public comments at the end of our meetings, which of course are all open to the public. So thank you for your comments. But again, we try to refocus our energy tonight upon the Economic Study Committee. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Tutterow, we have a third individual who wanted to speak tonight. However, this is Shonda Gillespie. Miss Gillespie, are you with us? I don't see her name indicated in our attendee list. We have one person with a telephone number, but no name. I requested a name for that telephone number and no response. Miss Gillespie, are you with us tonight? Okay, I don't see a raised hand or any indication. There's nothing in the chat. So our third speaker has not shown up tonight. Perhaps she will before we conclude.
But since we're running a little fast tonight, she's actually scheduled at 6:30.
Yes, that is
come
correct.
back at 6:30 and check on her again.
Absolutely.
And I think we can go ahead and open it up if y'all would like to other people.
Okay, so far we don't have anyone in the chat requesting to speak.
Yes, so I just want to interject that we did yesterday have a meeting at which many folks wanted to speak. Now is the it wasn't the appropriate time yesterday, but today is. So if you're on this call and wish to make a public comment, please put your name on in the chat, and we would be happy to hear from you at this time. Or as Dr. Tutterow said, at the end of any Child Support Commission meeting, we always take public comment. In addition to that, today, Elaine personally received many emails from folks, and we have a formal process for submitting comments to the Child Support Commission. I've put that link in the chat to everybody. It would be very helpful if folks used that mechanism. It becomes unruly for Elaine to personally handle public comment coming through email constantly. So please, if you'd spread the word, public comments are very valuable, very important, but we need to collect them in an orderly fashion. So if you'd please use that public comment. Okay, and I'm really surprised that I'm not seeing anybody wanting to speak.
I know.
Let me follow up on Noel's comments and say simply, we have a great staff, but they are very thinly staffed relative to serving a state with 159 counties. And so again, let's try our very best to follow protocols in terms of submitting input so that we allow them to receive it and process it in the most efficient manner. And any of this Economic Study Commission, Study Committee members have any comments they'd like to share? And while we're waiting on Ms. Gillespie.
I've had a couple messages pop up from people. Did y'all, you receiving that, Elaine?
Yes, sir, we are. In fact, I'll read one. Thank you, Chuck. I'll read one that I see in the comments right now. And this is from Raja Antone to the host and panelists. Should commentary tonight be focused solely on the economic study? If so, perhaps some highlights on that study may steer further comments. Dr. Tutterow, do you want to take that question?
Sure. A little bit of history on the commission went back until the early 2000s, and at that time we went through a long, detailed debate on methodology. The big debate being between the so-called Engel measures and the Benson-Rothbard measures. And we decided to kind of split the baby to get something in between, if you will. At that time, that looked like the most reasonable approach. And then we hired a consultant from Policy Studies in Colorado who specializes nationwide in child support. And so every 3 years, she conducts a study for us where she draws upon the most recent data for the state of Georgia regarding cost of living, regarding incomes, and then that goes into determining the child support tables. And then again, the other half of the committee's work is that we employ a methodology to allow us to draw typically about 12 counties from around the state every 3 years so that we can go through and test and see how well the presumptive awards are performing and the guidelines are performing, and see how often we have to have deviations from that. And so that's kind of the second half of the work that we do. So unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that we do is kind of things that only economists and people who didn't have prom dates would find interesting. Normal people probably are a little bit less dug into some of the details that we get into, but that gives you a little bit.
Over and over and over again, Roger.
Yeah. And then of course, the Child Support Commission also has the technology and child support calculator, which allows you to integrate the information that comes from those studies into helping our judges make child support award decisions. Does that provide a fair overview?
I believe it does. Dr. Tutterow, we have one person, Tracy Palma, who would like to speak to the subcommittee, and Latana, hold on a moment and I will find her in the list and promote her.
Elaine, I think she may be logged in under Mr.
Ms.
Doran.
Dorian, yes.
Oh, thank you, because I saw that note. Okay, and now I understand. So I'm promoting her to panelist. Latana, if you want to, or Noel, start the clock at the appropriate time.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ms. Palmer will have 5 minutes.
Right. Ms. Palma, just make sure if you can hear me that you accept the promotion to panelist.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I can't get the video to work, but I am
Well,
here.
That's
So
okay.
first of all, I would love to thank the panel for allowing me to speak. And Elaine, I want to thank you very much for accepting my comments today as well. I know that you've said you had a lot today, so I appreciate that. First and foremost, I would just like to ask about imputed income. That seems to be a huge problem here in Georgia. It has impacted my family twice. And it's not that the fathers don't want to pay for their children. The problem is the imputing of the income to almost 3 times what they actually bring home. So the second they walk out of that courtroom, they are already behind in child support. Now they've provided tax incomes, receipts. They've provided current pay stubs that prove what they are currently making. Yet the judges say, well, you have the potential to make X amount of money. Now, I have the potential to make $1 million. However, I do not make $1 million. So if I go to the mortgage company and ask for a loan for a home, they don't say, well, Ms. Palma, you have the potential to make $1 million, so you can afford this much of a home. They go on what I actually make. And in my opinion, this would help fathers not fall behind in their child support payments if it's an amount that they can actually afford and also support themselves with their basic needs. My brother lost his job during COVID, was unable to make his child support payments, told the mother, told the attorneys, told the judge. Well, they didn't care that he lost his job. This was of no fault of his own. obviously we all know everybody is going through COVID issues right now. They put him in jail. Now, please help me understand. And I know there are some judges on here, and I would love to hear some type of a reasoning why you would put a good father in jail. He coaches their teams. He goes to everything. He is active in their lives. Yet he lost his job of no fault of his own because of COVID. The government gave people stimulus checks, which he did not receive. They all went to the mother. He also, the government also gave people ways to, told landlords they couldn't evict people due to COVID because they couldn't make their payments. Banks were offering people extended mortgage payments. Credit card companies are working with people and even forgiving money. Yet fathers who owe child support were given no help whatsoever and put in jail, which helps no one, by the way. It does not help the children because if he's in jail, he can't look for a job. If he's in jail, the money is piling up that he will never be able to pay back, no matter how many jobs he gets. And now he has a criminal record, which will impact him getting a new job. I just ask and I pray that this committee, please look at these issues. And this is not a one-off. There are thousands of fathers this happens to. And I'm talking, and I'm not talking about men who make millions of dollars. I'm talking about those who make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. That's all I have to say. And I really, really thank the panel for allowing me to speak this evening.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Palma. I mean, as we outlined at the beginning, it's not a question and answer framework. So we certainly thank you for your input. We will pass that up the line. If I were to narrow it down, it seemed to be the most passionate point you have is the important to look into distortions that can be generated by using imputed income. And so I think that's certainly a valid thing to ask us to look at. And again, I thank you for your comments and appreciate you attending.
I've got an important question related to that, if I could, to get more from her. One of the statutory protections is that the court is required to go through a detailed process before imputing income. Did the judge give a written explanation of all the different factors he or she looked at, or was the imputed income just ordered?
Mark, I'm sorry, but she is an attendee and won't be able to respond to your question. We were not prepared for the members to address, unless Dr. Tutterow, if it's okay with you, if we promote her again to respond, because otherwise she can't respond.
No,
Well,
okay. Mark's got a question. Sure.
Okay, Latana, can you do that?
Yep. Sending
Okay,
it back
thank
over.
you.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, she's back.
yes, Ms.
Can you hear me?
Durant.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I've got a question for more information from you about imputing income. In these different cases, there's statutory protection, which is not the same as actual protection related to imputed income. Supposedly, the court walks through a number of detailed steps before imputing income. Did the judge go through a number of steps? Especially, were there any written explanations as to why the court imputed income and going through these number of steps related to availability of jobs and so on?
Mark's Roger, we don't, one of the things we said we don't want to do is relitigate specific cases.
No, this is
Okay.
important information
No, I
related.
understand. So let me couch your question.
Okay.
I think what you want to say is that if the judge should provide you the following information, blank, 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 as opposed to saying, did the judge in this case do so?
Fine. What is important is to find out how the statutory protections are working or not working. That's all I'm asking about.
Am I allowed to respond now?
Yeah.
Okay. No, there were no written anything. It was just a signed order of what the mother's attorney had asked for. There was no written explanation of anything. None.
I think that's an important comment. So
I would
that's
agree.
the information. That's the information I was looking for, either up or down, so to speak.
Okay, we're continuing now. We have another person who asked to speak, Raja Antone. Could you, Latana, promote Mr. Antone to comment for the 5-minute period of time?
I'm muted. Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, it's coming over.
Hello, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Really quickly, I just want to first say thanks to Latana, thanks to Elaine, thanks to Noel. I really appreciated your help and kind of helping me navigate these meetings and stay in attendance, and I appreciate all of that and some of your commentary. So just want to say that. So just a quick some points here. I just want to restate that the commentary that was offered by Ms. Palmer, I believe, it's really a drop the mic type of moment. You could not articulate or eloquate what we face, what NCP, non-custodial parents face, much better than what she has already done. But I would like to piggyback on some of those tenets and just kind of offer just a little bit of color to it. And again, not making it relitigating anything or personalizing anything. The term out there, one thing, I just dropped some scribble notes here. We have this term out there now called Biden bucks, right? She spoke about the money that received and some of the graciousness, right? The graces that some of these other entities in our society have received, right? Well, Biden bucks, right? You know, so we call, and I just throw that out there because everybody knows what that is. Mm-hmm. I get that. I mean, my ex-wife gets that. Again, this is not relitigating anything because this just happened. You know, Joe Biden wasn't a president 15 years ago. He was, you know, so my issue is I'm paying as a non-custodial parent, I'm paying monthly, month after month after month after month. And I'm bearing the brunt of those sacrifices. Again, this is an economic study, so I want to keep it focused on the economic portions of it. I'm bearing that burden, but I don't get that. I don't get the quote unquote Biden bucks. I don't get any of that, but I'm supposed to be a joint parent, a joint custody parent, right? And I know that's a federal thing, but the point that I'm making is the takeaway here is that our state needs to factor in that albatross, right? We need to factor in what folks within our borders face, whether it's local, federal, state level. Those are real burdens for real Georgians that folks need to be, our system needs to calculate, just like she talked about the imputed income. Well, the first thing about that is it's based on gross salary. So just like with the imputed income, and you're talking about the auspices of the possibility of your potential salary, if I make $200,000, if I make $50,000, my children can't eat off of $50,000. I'm paying child support off of the money that I bring home. So I have to buy clothes and shoes and Pampers and, you know, tickets and registration fees and book bags and all that stuff based off of my net, not off of my gross. So which is a good segue into my next point about the formulas. Again, economic, right? We're talking about the formulas. I think Roger mentioned he spoke to that a little bit. And I've attended all the meetings. I just need to kind of have my memory jogged. But I've always hated these antiquated formulas that are a part of these child support worksheets because they're not effective in real time. It's just like what Ms. Palmer said. When you start to impute income and you talk about what could be, you're not children live in the here and now. They don't live in the could be or the so when you tell me that I have to pay X amount based off my gross income, guess what? After I contributed to my 401k or my child's 529 plan, or after I've paid, whatever it is, whatever tax bracket I'm in, that child support doesn't know, and that judge doesn't care, right? That child support worksheet doesn't care that I'm really bringing home X. It's basing it off of Y. And then I'll kind of, again, economically speaking, when a parent, a non-custodial parent, has sacrificed for 12 months of a year, it should not be a heavy lift for the custodial parent to sacrifice for 1 month of the year. Because we're talking about what a father or what a non-custodial parent could do with and for a child. When you still have to pay child support, and not even talk about alimony, when you still have to do that in that summer month or those months that you have your children and they're with you, they're physically with you, it places an additional exponentially large albatross on you from an economic standpoint, because you are not able to, you've got to pick and choose. It's like seniors and food. They got to choose between medicine and food. Fathers or non-custodial parents have to choose between paying child support and doing for their children. If we sacrifice for 12 months, they ought to be able to sacrifice or have to sacrifice for the 1 month. And the last thing I just want to say is pretty much, well, I'll just end it right there. I'll be respectful of everyone's time. But I look forward to the child support meeting. There are other things I want to say. Thank you for your indulgence. But we really need to get away from these antiquated spreadsheets and look at what's happening in real time. Costs don't change like that. Price of diapers don't change like that. But when you pigeonhole us into formulas based on a spreadsheet, you're telling us we have to pay certain amounts, and that might not be the amount that we were spending when we were married. But just because we're divorced now, or just because we're no longer girlfriend and boyfriend, now I have to pay an amount that I was not previously paying. And I just want the courts and the judges, everyone, the legislatures, to think about what is effective, what is true in real time. Thank you again for your indulgence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay, we have another individual who is requested to speak, Muhammad Abdulnour, and I apologize if I have pronounced your last name incorrectly. Latana, would you promote him, please?
And while you're doing that, Latana, did Ms. Gillespie log in or not?
No, Dr. Tutterow, I've been checking the
Okay,
list. I don't see her present. I'm sorry.
She was scheduled at 6:30, so I want to make sure we didn't keep her out of sequence.
Correct.
Thank you.
Right. Okay.
Okay, sir, you'll need to accept being promoted to a panelist. Hopefully you can hear me say that.
And
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me
Don't
go.
see you yet, but I hear you.
Okay, let me start my video.
Got Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
There he is. Yes, sir.
you.
Okay, yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. So, my question is regarding to jailing non-custodial parents when they fall into arrears, right? Jailing and also suspending driver's license, suspending professional licenses such as nursing and CDLs, and even law licenses, right?
Muhammad, Roger, I don't want to interrupt, but I mean, remember, this is the Economic Study Committee, not the Georgia Child Support Commission.
Right. Well, it's my point was that it's counterproductive to jail folks on these for these reasons, right? For being in arrears. Okay, a lot of cases, the parents don't have, or the non-custodial parent doesn't have the capability to pay, but then you jail them, you suspend their license, both the driver's license and professional. You're taking their ability to generate the income to pay their arrears and the child support. So, that's my point on that. And one other point I'd like to make is also in regards to equal share parenting. Studies show that parents, who have equal share parenting more likely to comply with child support demands, right? The requirements. They're more likely to pay the child support. They're, more invested, more engaged in their children's lives. So I think that's, something that hopefully this commission can relay up the chain. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay. And Dr. Tutterow, you are muted.
Okay, I'm sure that
There you
probably makes
go.
some people happy,
You're
by
back.
the way, but so we've called upon the 3 people that have requested and we're scheduled to meet. Do we have do we have any more individuals who have not spoken yet?
I do not see anyone else in the chat making a request to speak on the subject of the economic study.
Great. Okay, well, again, we held the slot from 6 to 8, but as always the case on commission meetings and generally speaking in agency meetings, when you're done, you're done. So if we don't see any more people requesting to speak, yes, go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Tutterow, I apologize. We do have a K. Jonathan.
Okay.
He had indicated some questions in the chat and they were dealing with parental alienation and a comment regarding the Division of Child Support Services. Do you want to hear from Mr. Jonathan?
If he thinks it's relevant for the economic subcommittee.
That's what I'm unsure of. So Mr.
Yeah,
Jonathan.
we don't want, this is not a backdoor to lodge complaints against other agencies.
Mr. Jonathan, do you still wish to speak on the economic study? Let me make sure he's still.
He's still there. Just
He is still here. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I see it. K. Jonathan. Okay. I don't see a response from him though in the chat.
Mr. Jonathan.
Have you sent him a message?
He just responded.
Yes, Mark. We're handling those details for you so that we can. Okay, he's responding. He says, "I just don't think I can come up with a question that would be accepted." Mr. Jonathan, we're going to promote you so that you can speak for your comments regarding the economic study.
Okay.
As Dr. Tutterow said, it's not a question and answer session, so it wouldn't be important to come up with a question. It's simply a listening session, so we'll just listen to what you have to say.
Yes. Okay, Elaine, there, the person is over. They're here.
Oh, the person, 7 p.m.
Oh, no, I'm saying
No.
K. Jonathan is over as a
Oh,
panelist.
okay, Mr. Jonathan, this is your opportunity to speak, please. You can go ahead.
Or Mrs. Jonathan.
Yeah, look to click the mute button. You're still on mute.
They're still on mute.
It's the bottom left of your screen, Mr. Jonathan.
Okay, Latana, I'm not, okay, there we go.
There you go.
Unmuted now. Okay.
Microphone is not set up.
Oh, his microphone is not set up. Okay. Mr. Jonathan, if you want to go to the Child Support Commission website, Noelle at the beginning of this process provided the link. It's early on in the chat. There's a link to go to that website.
She posted it.
You can post public comment.
Just
And
reposted it.
She be
And
posted.
that way you can, since you're not able to speak to us tonight, you can make a public comment in writing. And the members of this committee will see that comment.
And Elaine, I just popped it in the chat again for everybody, because it
Okay.
is my understanding with webinar, if folks join after I put something in the chat, they only see the
Oh, they
chat.
can't see it necessarily. Okay. Okay, good. Noelle, thank you for doing that.
Great. So we hope all members of the public that have input will share it through that chat so we can make better decisions on behalf of the children of Georgia. So no one else is in line, correct?
No, sir, we don't see anyone else in line.
Okay, well, again, I thank the citizens for checking in that had input to share with us, but also I'm looking at, we have quite a great turnout of our committee members, Mr. Clay, Representative Gaines, Judge Williford, some of our attorneys, Joe Massey and Jamie Russ, Mark
Miss-
Rogers, and Judge Worcester all made it today. So we appreciate it. I hope I'm not missing anyone.
Dr. Tutterow, I'm sorry. There's
Yes.
a person attendee has their hand raised, Gil Freeman.
Okay.
Here we go. Gil, could you write a comment in the chat? Or would you like to speak?
Maybe just go ahead and promote him. If I don't know why he'd be raising his hand instead of putting his name in the chat, but
Okay.
see if he wants to say anything.
All right, they're over. Okay, I think they're coming on now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, and there is a 5-minute period of time for you to speak. Please start.
I just wanted to say briefly that piggybacking on the imputed income, oftentimes judges make a decision and the judges receive the financial affidavit of each party, and they'll make a decision and impute income, understanding that they have the financial affidavit from the start, so they understand if one party can appeal or not. So they may make a they may abuse discretion without ever they may abuse discretion with the understanding that the party that's coming up on the short end can't appeal it. They can't afford to appeal. They can either pay the child support or they can pay lawyers, but they can't pay both. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that I understand that judges need some discretion, but I think the broad discretion that they're given is a little bit excessive. And that's the point I wanted to make.
Thank you for your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Tutterow, we still don't have our third speaker, Shonda Gillespie, but she was originally asking for a 7 p.m. timeframe. Do we want to wait until 7 p.m. and see if she joins us? I wrote her twice. She may not have received my emails.
Yes, okay, yes, we can do that. And keep in mind that if 7 doesn't work, there is a second listening session. And remind me again, I don't have my calendar pulled up, the date on that.
Okay, September 23rd, a Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m.
And then there's the overall commission hearing, public hearing.
Yes, and then the next full commission meeting will be on October 15th. That all can be found on the commission's website. You know what, maybe I'm going to throw that in the chat.
Well, it might be good to focus on the notices and meetings.
Right, at the top of the commission's website, you will find information on trainings that we regularly give, on all the full commission meetings and every sub and study committee. So that's all up there, all prior, not all prior, but meeting minutes and meeting notices of upcoming meeting. So, and that's just.
Should I share my screen to show the website, or?
Please.
Sure,
Okay.
if you want to. And Noelle shared the CSC georgiacourts.gov. We have from Tracy Palma, she's asking, where can we find all of the videos? We don't provide videos, we provide minutes of the child support meetings, and it's on the page that LaTana's showing us right now. Meeting information, meeting minutes, and meeting notices. That's where you would find the minutes from the various meetings held by the Child Support Commission and all the different subcommittees, study committees, and so forth. So there are the meeting notices. And also meeting minutes. Well, we reduce, Ms. Palmer, we reduce all of these recordings to meeting minutes, which is what our bylaws require that the commission do. So we're complying with that requirement to reduce these to meeting minutes.
So right up at the top, the blue bar, Tani, do you want to like highlight? This is where we're asking folks to go to find out information, to make public comment in one of three ways, through one of the two listening sessions, tonight being the first, September 23rd being the second. Then we're collecting written comment through this. You click that link at the top where it says click here for more information. And there's also the third opportunity would be to simply, we give a mailing address to folks to, if they wanted to mail something in. So there's three opportunities. So that would be the jumping off point. What LaTana's showing us, the jumping off point to register. If you know anybody who wants to speak at the September 23rd, we do, highly prefer that folks register in advance to speak.
And in fact, it may be a requirement for the second session. I think there might have been some confusion that people could just log in and speak. I think we may, for the second session, require you to pre-register.
Great. LaTana, while we're burning some time here, do you want to show folks the training page? I think that's interesting too. So we give training on the child support calculator monthly, at least monthly. That's scheduled training, and you can see those upcoming dates. Those are updated ongoingly, and you can register. It's free. If you're an attorney, it does qualify for continuing legal education. If you're a registered neutral, like a mediator, it does count for continuing education. So that's monthly. And then if you scroll down a little bit, we have permanently training videos online intended for self-represented litigants, or what we also call parents, right?
Yeah.
You click on that. And you scroll down a bit, you get all sorts of information. And then you'll see 8 separate videos sort of chunked out by topic. So you can just listen to a snippet on any video. One talks about creating your child support calculator account. There's all the different schedules and what you need to do to use the calculator. And then we end on video 8 with the famous how to print your worksheet. Thank you, Tani. I think that's great. Folks can see some resources.
Welcome. And we still have about 4 minutes till 7.
Is anyone else logged in that would like to speak that hasn't had an opportunity so far?
Okay, I don't see any responses in the chat. Oh, wait, let me see. Was that new? Hold on just a moment. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay.
Does that look like Chris Dorian would like to speak, or Tracy Palmer again? What time is that?
I'm not seeing, let's see, Chris Dorian.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Tracy Palmer, do you want to speak again?
No, I think it's
Yes.
Mr. Doran wants to speak.
Oh,
Or could be a girl, Chris. right?
okay, so I'm Doran.
Well, I changed
So,
the
but
name.
they're using the same
Yeah.
link, right, for both
Yes.
individuals. I see. Okay. Let's see.
You should want me to go ahead and take Tracy Palmer over again?
Yes,
Chris
please.
Dorian. Okay.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much for taking a minute to listen to me. I appreciate it. One of the things that I wanted to bring up in regards to child support is there's supposed to be a 60% maximum that child support on income. And attorneys are getting around that by layering in additional expenses like having to pay for daycare, which should be taken care of by child support, having to pay for additional medical, even after providing medical insurance to the children, still required to pay, in my case, 90% of out-of-pocket expenses, and be held accountable for these additional expenses above and beyond child support. So it's not 60%, it's taking a lot more than that. And after taxes, I can't even invest in my 401k. I stopped contributing to my kids' 529 accounts because I can't afford to do it. I have nothing left. After child support, I get a $25 paycheck. How's somebody supposed to sustain themselves on that? It's absolutely ridiculous, and this needs to change. And this commission is the group that needs to change it.
Thank you. As you know, this is the Economic Study Committee, but your comments are so noticed. If I summarize you're saying that when you tack on child support, when you tack on things such as medical costs when they've already been embedded in the child support payments, then it's redundant. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes, absolutely. It's not only redundant, but it's excessive.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments as well there, Mr. Doran. And we are now showing on 7 o'clock. So have we heard from Ms. Gillespie?
Dr. Tutterow, I have not seen her come in yet. Let me double check. Just make sure I'm not missing. Let's let me close that. Wait a minute, did I? No, I still don't see her last name showing up. Is Shonda Gillespie with us? Has she joined us tonight? Okay, no, sir, I do not believe she is here.
Great. Well, I'll throw it open real quick for any closing questions or comments from our fellow Economic Subcommittee chair members, rather.
Well, I don't know if it's going to make any difference. I recommend a 10-minute grace period as something scheduled.
Well, Mark, I think we will handle the scheduling differently for the next one. We'll probably line them up for we quite candidly, I think we're surprised so few people registered to speak.
I think everyone should be required to attend from the beginning, and then they might be lined up, but we take them in order instead of saying we've got to wait till 6:30 or we've got to wait till 7 in case we do finish early because folks don't show up. Would be my suggestion.
Yes, Judge, I think that makes great sense.
Well, we need to make that clear in the public announcement that
We will, Mark. Thank you.
they're at risk of being not heard if they don't show up early.
Right.
Yeah, and if it says from 6 to 8 and they think, well, I'm not going to click on at 6, but I'll click on at 7:45, then the meeting is over. So we probably on the next one need to make that perfectly clear.
Agreed.
Agreed. Keep in mind, I mean, I'm unaware, other than when we first did child support changes back, a good 15 plus years ago, I'm not familiar with pure listening sessions like we're doing today. So I think it really speaks to our commission is dedicated toward servicing Georgia's citizens.
Many years ago, it was face-to-face only, so times have changed.
Dr. Tutterow, we had one individual talking about the awareness, so people would be aware we had the meeting scheduled. We have publicized this meeting on the commission website, the child support calculator website. There's a link there to be able to register. We published this in the news media. We published it through the State Bar of Georgia. The judges in Georgia received information about it. We published it through the Division of Child Support Services. We published it through our Twitter and Facebook accounts. What am I leaving out, Noelle?
GODR, which is our mediator.
GODR, yeah. I mean, we reached out to everyone we could think of to publish it, and we'll continue to do that because we certainly want people to be aware. We really thought that publishing it on the child support calculator would be a good way to capture people's attention, because we have around 5,000 people a month who visit that site to work on child support worksheets. And so we thought with all those people coming into the child support calculator, they would see this opportunity to participate. But we have been rather surprised at the lack of interest, and we will continue to publish. We will continue to get the word out for September 23rd, and hopefully we'll have a better turnout for the next meeting. Although our turnout today has been good as far as capturing comments from you. We appreciate the comments.
Okay, great. Well, again, for anyone still listening, I think we need to remember you have the opportunity to submit written comments through the portal, if you will. And if you had questions or you had comments you wanted to share, you did not express tonight. So hearing any other, no one else is logged in, Ms. Gillespie's not here, I would say that we stand adjourned with regard to our listening session.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Tutterow. Thank you, guests and members. We appreciate your diligence in being with us tonight.
Thank you all
So
very much.
LaTana's going to conclude the meeting for us.
Recording stopped.